Okay, picture this. You wake up on what seems like a completely normal Tuesday morning. Your alarm goes off, people are rushing out the door to get to work, and you look out the window. Traffic is already building up, birds are flying around, and it's a bright, beautiful blue morning. It looks, sounds, and feels exactly like any other day on Earth. But in today's Explainer, we're going to dive into a genuinely terrifying what-if scenario. What if this perfectly normal, mundane morning was actually the start of an impossible astronomical event? So here is the fascinating, honestly chilling question we're unpacking today. What if the sun just vanished? I don't mean exploded. I don't mean it slowly dimmed out over billions of years. I mean it just blinked out of existence, completely vanishing from space without a single trace. And the wild part, the absolute core dramatic irony of this whole scenario, is that the sun has actually already disappeared from the center of our solar system. But nobody down here on Earth knows it yet. We are completely, entirely oblivious to the fact that the focal point of our existence is just gone. 8 minutes and 20 seconds. Now, why does that specific exact number matter so much? Well, because that's exactly how long it takes for sunlight to travel all the way from the sun to the Earth. Because of this speed of light delay, humanity is quite literally living in a delayed reality. For 8 minutes and 20 seconds after the sun blinks out of existence, we are completely blind to the truth. So, for those precious few minutes, we're basically living under an echo. The echo of a star that's already gone. All over the globe, life is just continuing on as usual. People are scrolling on their phones, making their morning coffee, planes are taking off, schools are opening their doors. There's absolutely no warning whatsoever. No cosmic alarm bell ringing to tell us we've just suffered a catastrophic loss. Just complete and utter silence out in space, while we go about our daily routines, bathed in the light of a ghost. Section 1. 8 minutes of illusion. The crazy thing is, it doesn't happen with some massive, fiery Hollywood explosion. It's much creepier than that. It feels like something is just deeply wrong with reality itself. As we hit the very end of those 8 minutes, the first eerie signs start showing up. The sky slowly loses that vibrant intensity. That bright morning blue starts turning pale, almost kind of sickly. If you were to look down at the ground, shadows would start behaving really strangely. Let's walk through exactly how those final seconds unfold. At minute 0, the sun vanishes in space. Total cosmic silence. Fast forward to minute 8:19. Shadows are shifting, the sky looks washed out. People might look up, squinting, confused, maybe thinking a really weird storm is rolling in. And then, at exactly minute 8:20, the illusion breaks. The sunlight simply stops. It doesn't fade out beautifully like a sunset. It isn't blocked by a heavy cloud. It just stops. Section 2. The sudden midnight. Just try to imagine the sheer, visceral, physical shock of that moment. You're standing out on the street in a bustling city at noon, surrounded by broad daylight, and instantly, literally in the blink of an eye, it is pitch black midnight. People would absolutely freeze in their tracks. Traffic abruptly grinds to a halt as drivers slam on their brakes, totally blinded. Traffic lights suddenly feel completely meaningless in this deep, inky blackness that just swallowed the world whole. And then, for the first time in human history, stars appear right in the middle of the day. People look up, completely silent, terrified, and they see a starry night sky during what should be their lunch break. The big takeaway here is that this has never, ever happened before. Seeing constellations shining perfectly bright at 12 p.m. on a Tuesday, it's an unprecedented, completely impossible sight. Now, naturally, the human mind desperately tries to rationalize something like this. At first, everyone probably thinks, oh, it's just a solar eclipse. But here's the thing. An eclipse is predictable, it's natural, and most importantly, it passes. But this event, it's completely impossible. It is a fundamental cosmic failure. And the terrifying reality that quickly starts setting in is that this darkness is going to stay. That initial hopeful assumption of a weird eclipse is just crushed as the minutes tick by and the light never returns. Section 3. A cosmic failure. Within minutes, the entire planet realizes that something fundamentally impossible has just happened. Social media absolutely explodes with one single panicked question. What happened to the sun? News stations immediately flip to emergency broadcast mode. Governments start firing off global alerts. Scientists are sprinting into their observatories, frantically checking every satellite, every data stream, every solar monitor they have. And every single system kicks back the exact same chilling result. No sun detected. It's not blocked, It's not hidden behind something, it is gone. This is the moment they realize we are experiencing a literal cosmic failure, and what scientists and world leaders are grappling with right then is that this isn't a natural disaster. Hurricanes, earthquakes, those are natural disasters. This is an impossible astronomical reality. It's a complete top-to-bottom breakdown of the universe's mechanics as we understand them. And while humanity is losing its mind on social media, nature is reacting purely on instinct. Birds immediately start flying back to their nests right in the middle of the day. Dogs start pacing, getting incredibly restless. Cats just vanish into hiding. See, nature doesn't check wristwatches or smartphones. It relies entirely on the sun as its primary signal for life. And instantly, every single living creature instinctively understands that something deeply, fundamentally broken has occurred. While everyone is still standing outside, staring up at this wrong sky, a secondary, creeping physical change starts to hit. The temperature drops. At first, it just feels like a minor chill in the air, something you could easily brush off. But within minutes, that chill becomes undeniably, bitterly noticeable. The warm air just disappears entirely. Even the wind begins to feel vastly different. It doesn't feel like a normal cold front moving in. It actually feels as though the entire planet is exhaling its warmth for the very last time. Section 4. Losing our anchor. Because as that deep cold sets in, scientists realize something much, much worse. The sun wasn't just a giant light bulb up there. It was our anchor. It physically controlled the Earth. And without it, we are facing the total loss of orbital gravity. The sun's immense, massive gravity is the invisible tether that keeps our planet safely locked in a nice, neat orbit. It's literally what keeps us spinning in a predictable circle year after year. Without the sun's mass pulling on us, that invisible string just snaps. Earth isn't orbiting anything anymore. Instead, it begins drifting in a completely straight line, straight out into the freezing, empty void of deep space. But the truly wild part, right now, nobody actually feels that drift. Not yet. Earth is currently just moving with memory. The planet is coasting entirely on the momentum of a star that simply isn't there anymore. We are flying through the dark, completely untethered, propelled by nothing but the ghost of our past orbit. It is an incredibly eerie concept when you really think about it, realizing that the solid ground beneath your feet is currently hurtling directly into the unknown. So just imagine standing there in that sudden, freezing cold, staring up at a sky full of stars at noon. You can't help but ask, is this still Earth, or have we already left it? That question perfectly captures the profound, deep existential dread of humanity in this moment. We are totally untethered. We are just floating. The place we've always called home is quite simply no longer part of a solar system. Which leaves us staring down one final, deeply haunting question. What comes next? The 8 minutes of illusion are officially over. The sudden midnight is here. The temperature is plummeting, and our planet is drifting aimlessly into the dark.
Just imagine waking up tomorrow, going about your normal morning routine, pouring your coffee, and suddenly realizing that the one absolute constant in all of human history is just gone.
So what if the sun disappeared for exactly 24 hours? It is pretty much the ultimate scientific what-if question. We take our star completely for granted every single day, right? We just assume it's always going to be there. But here's the crazy part. Because of the laws of physics, if the sun just popped out of existence right this very second, we wouldn't even know it immediately. It takes light 8 minutes and 20 seconds to travel from the sun to Earth. So for 8 blissful minutes, humanity would just carry on exactly as normal. And then, with zero warning, we'd be plunged right into the dark.
The disorientation would be absolutely staggering. Without a normal day-night cycle, our global power grids would instantly be pushed to their absolute breaking points. Think about it. The sudden, terrifying absence of daylight means every automated streetlight on the entire planet turns on at exactly the same time. Power plants that are used to managing very predictable regional schedules would suddenly scramble to meet a 100% lighting demand right in the middle of what should be the day. We'd instantly be surviving solely on emergency infrastructure as entire cities desperately try to fight off a pitch-black sky.
All right, part 1, the big freeze, where Earth's energy goes offline.
Now, while the initial blackout inside our cities would be total chaos, the real danger is what's happening outside those artificially lit bubbles. We usually just think of the sun as a giant light bulb in the sky, right? But functionally, it's Earth's primary energy system. Sure, our planet's core gives us a tiny fraction of geothermal heat, but the vast, overwhelming majority of our warmth comes directly from incoming solar radiation. So when that massive energy feed suddenly unplugs, the physics are just unforgiving. Earth would immediately start radiating all of its retained heat straight out into the freezing vacuum of space.
The environmental reactions would be relentless. Now, it wouldn't be an instant flash freeze like you see in a sci-fi disaster movie. It's more of a creeping, inescapable chill that you'd feel right in your bones. Without the sun heating the Earth's surface and driving our atmosphere, the basic mechanics of our weather would just start to unravel. Wind patterns, which actually rely on the contrast between warm and cool air, would shift totally unpredictably. Weather systems would basically starve of their fuel and weaken. Out in the oceans, the surface water would start cooling rapidly, messing with currents and creating these bizarre, localized microclimates.
Which brings us to part 2, biological shutdown, or how the food chain fails.
As terrifying as that creeping cold is, the cascading effect on biology is an instant, absolute catastrophe. The math here is brutally simple. Photosynthetic organisms, which are the literal foundation of the global food web, would just halt production in real time. Without constant light from the sun, plants instantly stop converting carbon dioxide to glucose. They are forced to transition entirely to cellular respiration, meaning they actually start consuming stored oxygen instead of producing it. This instantly breaks the food chain, halts all agricultural growth, and turns a scary blackout into an extreme global survival crisis.
Moving on to part 3, societal breakdown and drift, with humanity left in the dark. So, as the physical environment degrades, emergency governments would have to enforce rigid control over whatever resources are left. But human nature demands an explanation, right? And with communication networks completely overloaded and scientists unable to give a logical reason for a missing star, a massive information vacuum opens up. And we all know how fast those get filled. Desperate theories would spread like wildfire. Everything from localized cosmic anomalies and dark matter clouds to widespread panic that we're literally in a failing computer simulation or even experiencing extraterrestrial interference.
But beneath all that societal panic is a much more terrifying physical reality. Without the sun, Earth is just drifting silently through space. See, the sun accounts for over 99% of the mass in our solar system. It is the gravitational tether holding everything together. The exact second it vanishes, that tether snaps. Our planet is orbiting at roughly 67,000 miles per hour, so we just keep moving at that exact speed, but now in a completely straight line. Completely unmoored, just flying off course into the cosmic void.
If we track this collapse over just 24 hours, the acceleration of these system failures is staggering. The immediate plunge into darkness and power grid strain gives way to measurable atmospheric cooling and altering oceans within just hours. And by the end of this dark cycle, global photosynthesis is functionally flatlined, the weather is stalling out, and our silent orbital drift is a very real, irreversible trajectory. You really start to see how interconnected Earth systems are as they fall like dominoes. At first, the human reaction is going to be incredibly loud. Pure panic, frantic theories, desperately searching overloaded networks for any kind of answer. But as the dark hours really drag on, the sheer exhaustion of sustained fear just takes over. Your adrenaline completely depletes. That shouting gradually fades into a heavy, crushing silence. Eventually, humanity just stops fighting the dark, looks up at a totally unfamiliar, starless void, and simply waits.
And then we reach part 4, the awakening, waking up to a changed world. After what feels like an absolute eternity in the freezing dark, a faint, uncertain glow finally appears on the horizon. And then, instantly, light violently floods the sky. The energy grid of the solar system abruptly reconnects. That massive gravitational well snaps right back into place, and the planet is bombarded with heat and light once again. The sun is back, shocking the entire globe awake in a fraction of a second. The collective shock of that moment would be unbelievable. Stepping back outside into the warmth, the trauma of the last 24 hours would trigger some profound psychological responses. Honestly, the sudden return to normal would be almost as jarring as losing it in the first place. You'd have people crying in pure relief, laughing hysterically at the sheer impossibility of surviving at all, or just standing there, totally paralyzed, unable to even process the nightmare they just woke up from. As one observer perfectly put it, humanity witnessed something it was never meant to see. The sun might look exactly the same up there, actively restoring our weather and fueling the plants again, but our perception of the universe, that's fractured forever. We would have experienced the ultimate vulnerability, essentially peeking behind the curtain of our own planetary security.
The biggest takeaway from this entire hypothetical is just the sheer fragility of our reality. Our entire existence,
Every piece of technology we've ever built, every complex ecosystem, literally every breath we take, is delicately balanced on the mechanics of a single, raging nuclear furnace in the sky that we just casually take for granted every single morning.
Because if the foundation of our entire world can just disappear once, what if it disappears forever? Think about that the next time you feel the warmth of the sun on your face. Thanks for joining me in this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.